Mornings with Kaye Adams on BBC Radio Scotland.
Right now, when you think of a regular town centre in Scotland, it will no doubt include traffic lights, a number of pedestrian crossings and the usual street furniture. Kirkintilloch is no different. But from the beginning of next year, the plan is to completely redesign it, reducing the 5 crossings to 1 and removing railings and other sharp divisions between the pavements and the road, also widening the pavements and encouraging the traffic to slow down. This is a system that is called a shared space. It's becoming more and more popular as a concept for town centres. But for visually impaired people, it can cause real problems. In a recent House of Lords debate, the peer Lord Chris Holmes, who is himself blind, said, and this is his direct quote, "Shared space schemes have caused the biggest systematic institutionalised discrimination against blind people ever seen in the UK." Well, the East and Bartonshire Visually Impaired People's Forum agree with Lord Holmes, and today they are delivering a petition to Holyrood. Amongst them will be Sandy Taylor, who's the chair of that forum, and Sandy joins me in the studio this morning. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, good morning, Kate.
Thanks for coming in. And indeed, you were with us about 6 months ago when this idea was first mooted. Clearly, it's sticking. East and Bartonshire are very much committed to it. And we've got a statement from them this morning saying, you know, this is to make the town centre accessible and attractive for everyone, for shoppers, traders, residents, visitors of all ages and abilities, and it will make the town centre more accessible, not less accessible to people with disabilities. So they are absolutely committed to it. You're still not convinced?
Absolutely not. How can you possibly say it's going to be more accessible to people? And I'm not just talking about blind people here. You know, there are other disabled people, elderly people, mothers with buggies, children. People, as happened in the trial last year, people simply avoided the town altogether. They were terrified, absolutely terrified to go near it. There were so many near accidents, there was fights between pedestrians and drivers. It is ludicrous to suggest that it's going to be more accessible.
Right. I mean, again, just going into the sort of design of it, and obviously we've got to ask people to kind of visualise, and I think the classic town centre is familiar to everyone. What are the kind of fundamental changes that are being proposed here, Sandy?
Well, first of all, you mentioned the railings. They proposed to remove all the railings. Now, these railings have protected people for many years, particularly children. Recently, a car bumped into the railing and almost demolished it. And had there been no railing there, certainly there would have been a fatality or serious injury. They plan to remove the traffic lights from the main junction itself. The main high street is called Cowgate. There will only be one crossing at the extreme south end of it remaining. There will be no other control crossings throughout the full length of the high street.
There will be courtesy crossings, I believe.
Yes, there will be 6 courtesy crossings. Now, these are crossing points which are slightly raised, 40 millimetres raised, where people will cross the road. Now, as has been said in the past, we are supposed to make eye contact with the driver and hope that the driver stops. Now, the driver is under no legal compulsion to stop at one of these uncontrolled crossings.
I mean, at the heart of these kind of shared space schemes, and Kirkintilloch isn't the only town centre that's considering this, and certainly down south a number have been introduced, is to try and change the relationship, isn't it, between pedestrians and the motorist, and very much put the motorist on the back foot, if that is not a terrible expression to employ, which it clearly is, so that they feel much more conscious of pedestrian footfall, that they slow down their speeds, and they feel, you know, that they have to watch out for people, and the logic being that once that balance, that power shift takes place, then everyone, you know, who's on foot is going to feel much more comfortable moving about. I mean,
that is the theory, Kay.
Well, tell me the experience from you then.
Well, can I just ask you for a moment to and the listeners to imagine that you are blind and you come to the edge of the crossing. Just close your eyes for a moment and think. There are deaf-blind people as well, by the way, and obviously we've got to contend with electric cars which are silent. Can you imagine when you would think of putting your foot onto that road surface, there are cars passing backwards and forwards in front of you. You're not aware of them being there. Who's going to be daft enough just to step into the unknown? That's from a blind person's point of view. Our local MSP, Fiona MacLeod, wrote in the local paper this week about dementia sufferers. Now, Kirkintilloch is supposed to be a town friendly for dementia sufferers. They go there with confidence at the moment. They simply press the button and they know that the traffic is going to stop and they can safely cross the road. This will stop them coming near the town centre, as so many other people did during the trial.
Well, Sandy, we've got Paul Russell's on the line, and he's the project coordinator of street design, so he's involved in the design.
Yes, I've met Paul many times.
You've met Paul, okay. Well, interesting for everyone else to hear. Good morning to you, Paul.
Good morning, Kaye.
Good morning. You know, clearly the intention here is to make the town centre much more accessible and attractive to everyone, and that's what the statement from the council leader, Rhonda Geekie, says. Have you perhaps overlooked the situation that somebody who's got a visual impairment would find themselves in, or indeed other people, as Sandy has said?
No, absolutely not. And I have to say right at the start, and I said this to Sandy in the past, I think the scheme is a far better one for the input of Sandy and his colleagues at EDVIP and all the other people that we've worked with in Kirkintilloch to progress the designs with and without physical disabilities or impairments. So, no, I think from where we were a year ago when the trial was on to where we are now, it's a far better scheme for their input, for the input of Sandy and colleagues.
So you have taken on board some of Sandy's reservations and made changes, have you?
Absolutely. There's a whole number of changes that have happened. And Sandy, I apologise, I know that we won't agree on all of these, but...
I would just like to know what these changes are, Paul.
Well, so would I, so Paul's going to tell us.
Yeah,
on you
please
go, Paul.
do.
I'm quite happy to. The curb's been retained for the entirety of the scheme, bar the crossing points, which is in standard for most towns across Scotland. We've changed the pavements so that actually all the street clutter's put to one side and actually is now clear circulation space, so people with less mobility or with visual impairments can walk freely along the streets. We've reinstated 2 of the controlled crossings. 4 were going to be removed, and we've put 2 of those back in, particularly on the Catherine Street junction. And we're using high contrast materials so that if you do have some residual sight, you're able to distinguish which parts of the pavement you are and direct yourself towards the crossings as they stand at the moment.
Right.
So I'll say it again, I think for Sandy's input and his colleagues, it's a far better scheme for their input than it was originally, and I'm really grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. Paul, is the intention to introduce this kind of system to other town centres in Scotland?
Well, I work for Sustrans Scotland, and we work in partnership with local authorities across Scotland, and we absolutely advocate and encourage local authorities to come up with designs that prioritise people and make streets and our towns and cities much more inclusive. And we think the project in Kirkintilloch is a good step in that direction.
Right, so it may be coming to a town near you soon. Sandy, I was going to say you don't look as if you're totally won over, but I shouldn't put words into your mouth.
This is going to exclude people. Now, there is a meeting today, a summit meeting in the Lords today. I'm handing in a petition to Holyrood asking for an immediate moratorium on all these schemes until safety issues have been addressed. Now, in the summit meeting in the House of Lords today is addressing this problem. Lord Chris Holmes, you mentioned earlier, will be there, various other people. This is the National Day for Disabled People, and we're trying to embrace inclusion, and this scheme will exclude many, many people. There is nobody in Kirkintilloch in favour of the scheme. I'm talking about drivers, other pedestrians, cyclists. Nobody is in favour of this scheme.
Well, Sandy, obviously not that I'm questioning you, but I mean, clearly from our position, We can't say that. We don't know because we can't speak to everybody in Kirkintilloch.
I have spoken to them.
Well, I'm sure you've spoken to many people in Kirkintilloch. I mean, our door is always open, and metaphorically speaking, in terms of phone calls and text. So please do get in touch with us, whether you're from the Kirkintilloch area or elsewhere that you do have experience of these shared spaces, because it would be great to get people's views on them. Sandy, listen, thank you very much for coming in again today, and I hope the rest of your day goes well for you. I know that you're going to Holyrood to submit this petition. And Paul Russell's from Sustrans, thanks to you as well for getting in touch. One text in: why don't the people who came up with the idea try walking about a shared space wearing a blindfold? If you have got experience with these shared spaces, and it is one of these kind of trendy expressions, isn't it, a shared space, but so just to go back on what Paul Russell was saying, that the basic sort of thought is to change the balance of power within a town centre, to make people at the centre of it, and so that the traffic slows down and you don't see this kind of hard distinction between the pavement and the road with railings and crossings, that it's a much more, shall we say, blended scheme. So let me know what you think. 80295. And Sandy, thank you very much.